Summer 2023 has recently come to an end. Before I get excited for the rest of the movies coming out for the remainder of the year, I have decided to do my list of my favorite movies of summer 2023. Now, as for my thoughts on summer 2023, good but slightly underwhelming. Luckily, there were box office hits this summer, but there were also disappointing movies this summer. Movies that were expected to make big at the box office, but underperformed. And there were a few movies that I was excited for and had hope for, but ended up letting me down. But even with that said, there were still plenty of really good movies this summer. From blockbusters, animation, and independent films that had really something special about them. In the past, from 2017 through 2019, when I have done these favorite films of the summer videos, I have done top 5 videos of that. But for this year, there were plenty of great movies this summer that I would feel bad leaving them off the list if I did a top 5 list. So for the first time on this channel, I am doing a top 10 list of my favorite movies of summer 2023. And as always, keep in mind, this list is entirely my opinion. These are the movies this summer that I really love, that have either moved me or entertained me. So if there's a particular movie on here you disagree with or a placement, that's totally fine. This list is entirely my opinion. And I'm excited to hear your list in the comments below of your favorite movies of summer 2023. Either a top 10, top 5, or your number 1 pick. Let me know in the comments below. Now, before we get into the list, I only have one honorable mention, and that is Wes Anderson's recent film, Asteroid City. While I don't think this is a top tier Wes Anderson movie, and I'm not a fan of the third act or the way it concludes, but Asteroid City is a funny, quirky, and endearing addition to Wes Anderson's filmography. It's got a fantastic cast ensemble, stunning set design, amazing musical score from Alexandre Desplat, and still reminds me why I find Wes Anderson to be a one-of-a-kind unique filmmaker. And that was originally the number 10 film on the list, but just got knocked off the list recently. And speaking of which, let's begin the top 10 list. Coming in at the number 10 spot is Pixar's recent film, Elemental. I finally got to see this movie on Labor Day weekend because I was busy at the time of this movie's release. And I saw it on Fandango. I was like, shoot, Elemental, I haven't seen that yet. Really wanted to see it, found the time to, and I'm glad I did. Granted, I don't think it'll be in my top 10 or even top 15 in my personal Pixar ranking, but this is still a funny, charming, heartfelt, and entertaining addition to Pixar's filmography. From the absolutely gorgeous animation with creative world building and unique character designs, it is so colorful and vibrant. Even in a weaker Pixar movie, Pixar never fails with their animation. It always looks spectacular. Both Wade and Ember make for a likable, sympathetic, and entertaining duo to watch. And I can definitely see why many people have said this is Pixar's first romantic comedy. Thomas Newman's musical score is great. I loved his work in other Pixar movies like Finding Nemo and WALL-E, this is no exception. But also has a great emotional core focusing on immigration, parenthood, and what is it that you really want to do in your life and finding your passion. Now, on its opening weekend, it unfortunately grossed $29 million, making it one of the lowest opening weekends for Pixar. But luckily, in the following weekends, it did start to have legs at the box office and started to gross more money, and has now grossed $486 million worldwide. And one reason I did feel like the good word of mouth helped this movie to better box office. And same with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, that good word of mouth can help an animated movie. That, and what I've been hearing, it's the most watched Disney Plus movie premiere this year, with 26.4 million views in its first 5 days, which I found to be impressive, showing that there is love for Elemental, which is great to see. If you didn't get the chance to see Elemental in theaters, it is streaming on Disney Plus, or it'll be out on Blu-ray soon. Definitely check it out because I think it's another quality Pixar movie. Coming in at number 9, our second animated film on this list, a Netflix animated movie, Nimona. This project was originally in development at Blue Sky Studios, but was unfortunately canceled due to the Blue Sky shutdown of 2021. Luckily, in the following year, both Netflix and Annapurna Pictures both revived the film. After enjoying this movie so much, I'm really happy Netflix finally let this film see the light of day. When it first started, I was interested, wasn't quite loving it. I was curious, I was like, let's see where this goes. But once the conflict kicks in, I was hooked and had a blast throughout. Great animation, I love the futuristic medieval setting, both an adventure movie and a crime movie that I had a blast with. Chloe Grace Moretz does a terrific job injecting so much humor and relentless energy into her vocal performance, but also providing a strong emotional core for her character. And I also want to mention, this is the second Chloe Grace Moretz movie I have seen since Kick-Ass that had the Banana Splits theme song in it. And Riz Ahmed does an excellent job making for a sympathetic protagonist. and he's continuing to prove how much of a great actor he is. And if you want another example to how much Riz Ahmed is very talented as an actor, I implore you to go watch Sound of Metal. He is magnificent in that movie, and I love this duo with their back and forth banter and the humanity to both of their characters. It's got fun action, good heart, it's funny. Although I did find the villain reveal to be predictable, and there was one bully character that was unfunny and one-dimensional every time he showed up. But still, this would be one of my biggest surprises of the year, with its humor, heart, animation, and entertainment. If you haven't seen Nimona yet, and if you're interested in checking out, go check it out on Netflix because I think it's one of the best animated films this summer. Coming in at the number 8 spot, our third animated film in a row, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. I liked the Ninja Turtles as a kid, and I was interested when I heard Jeff Rowe, who co-directed The Mitchells vs. the Machines. I absolutely love that movie, and hearing that he's going to do an animated reboot of the Ninja Turtles franchise, I was curious to see what he could do with it. Mutant Mayhem was a blast, and easily the best Ninja Turtles movie. I love the Spider-Verse influence with its 2D animation style with sketchbook elements to it, but I never once felt like it was jumping on the bandwagon of Spider-Verse. It was trying to do its own thing, making it very distinct. I love that the Ninja Turtles were voiced by actual teenagers with how they talk and act, but I also found it very sympathetic with their need to be accepted by society. And that's one aspect I believe this is the best Ninja Turtles movie, is the heart and character work. Not just with the Turtles, I love the bond they formed with April O'Neil, and I found her likable and wanting her to overcome her anxiety to be a reporter. Splinter's character arc and his dislike towards humans, the backstory to Superfly and the rest of the villains, why they also hate humans. The voice cast is really good all around, especially with Jackie Chan and Splinter and Ice Cube as Superfly being the standouts here. It's funny, has fast-paced and frenetic action, it's heartfelt, and I would love to see a sequel to this movie. I would love to see more of the Turtles and what they can do with the sequel. And with the mid-credit scene in this movie, I really hope we get that sequel and what it teased. If you didn't get the chance to see this movie in theaters, it is on Paramount Plus if you have access to it. 3 great animated films this summer in a row, and this is certainly not the last animated movie on my list. More on that later. Coming in at number 7, we have the highest grossing movie of the summer, Barbie. If you seriously told me at the beginning of the year Barbie would make $1 billion worldwide, I wouldn't believe you. It's just like, Barbie is not going to make $1 billion worldwide, and to now, Barbie has grossed $1 billion worldwide and $600 million domestically over that, and yep, I was wrong. And not only that, who would ever thought we would get a Barbie movie that focuses on existentialism, death, anxiety, the patriarchy, gender roles, masculinity, and I love this movie. It's hilarious, charming, smart, entertaining, and surprisingly emotional. And it's definitely proved that this was more than just a product placement cash grab movie. Greta Gerwig continues to be a consistent director in her 3rd film after Lady Bird and Little Women, both handling the themes very well, although maybe a bit on the nose at times here. But mostly, her craft is off the charts with the stunning set design with Barbie Land and the costumes, which should definitely receive Oscar nominations in both of those categories. Margot Robbie is pitch perfect casting as Barbie. Who else could have played Barbie other than her? She's charismatic, funny, innocent, but also has a lot of depth with the emotional journey Barbie discovers in the real world, continuing to further prove her excellent range as an actress. But Ryan Gosling absolutely steals the show as Ken, with his excellent comedic timing and line delivery, making for such a hysterical and memorable comedic performance. But mostly, I particularly love the character arc that Ken goes through here and adds more depth to his performance. And from my point of view, I didn't really see Ken as a villain in this movie, just more of a misguided person, with him discovering the patriarchy in the real world and bringing that over to Barbie Land. And Ryan Gosling is receiving a lot of Oscar buzz in the Best Supporting Actor category for Barbie. Although he is not my pick for Best Supporting Actor this year, I would love to see him get nominated for this. And who is my pick for Best Supporting Actor? More on that later. And also, I'm Just Ken is an absolute banger. I've been jamming to that song non-stop ever since I've seen the movie. Not only do I hope that song gets nominated for Best Original Song, I hope it wins too. And Ryan Gosling performing that song on stage at the 2024 Oscars, make that happen please. I'm really happy that a movie like Barbie worked and it exists. With its craft, deeper meaning in its themes, humor, charm, and entertaining performances make this one of the most entertaining films of the summer and year so far. And I can't wait to pick this movie up on Blu-ray and take it to my Mojo Dojo Casa house. How did both Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach come up with that? That's brilliant. But nevertheless, I loved Barbie. Coming in at the number 6 spot, what is currently my favorite horror film of the year so far, Talk to Me from A24. Talk to Me was a wild, twisted, and awesome directorial debut from Danny Michael Filippo, aka if you know him on YouTube, Raka Raka. They absolutely knocked it out of the park with their directorial debut, from being a unique spin on demonic possession, using amazing camera movements, and more importantly, telling a creepy and unsettling story. And it contains what I love about great directorial debuts, seeing both Danny and Michael unleash their filming skills right out the gate. With style, energy, making it visceral, amazing building of tension, and using effective scares when necessary. I love the amazing color palette and cinematography. Strong performances from the cast, especially the lead Mia, played by Sophie Wilde. She is fantastic here. An excellent breakthrough performance from her, and I can't wait to see what movie she does next after this. But most of all, what I loved about Talk to Me is this wasn't just a style over substance prop horror movie. It actually does focus a lot on grief, adding more depth to the story. And I can also see this movie being an allegory for addiction and how far it consumes you. I can't wait to watch this movie again on Blu-ray this October, just in time for Halloween. As a fan of the Raka Raka YouTube channel, enjoyed many of their videos. I'm really happy to see Danny and Michael make their directorial debut, premiere at Sundance, distributed by A24, and being such a success at the box office and critically. And they definitely deserve all the success they've been receiving for this movie. And I have been hearing talks about a sequel to this movie that has been recently confirmed. If they have a good idea for a sequel and if there's potential there, I'm looking forward to seeing what they could do with that. And as well as hearing that Danny and Michael Filippo might make a Street Fighter movie. And if you are familiar with their YouTube channel, I think they would do an awesome job with a Street Fighter movie. If you are looking for an amazing and scary 2023 horror movie, definitely check out Talk to Me, because I think it's awesome. And now at the top 5, at number 5 is the second film in Phase 5 of the MCU and a satisfying end to a trilogy, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I love the first 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Volume 2 I find underrated. And even in DC, I also absolutely love the Suicide Squad and what James Gunn did with that movie. And this was hands down my most anticipated MCU film of the year. And I'm so happy Guardians Volume 3 didn't disappoint me at all. It's very funny, exciting, but also heartbreaking at the same time. Everyone in the cast is on top of their game, reminding us why we love the Guardians of the Galaxy so much and we've grown emotionally attached to these characters. How entertaining and fleshed out they are. From Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, Dave Bautista as Drax, Zoe Saldana as a different version of Gamora, Karen Gillan as Nebula, Palm Clementine as Mantis, Vin Diesel as Groot, but also the MVP of the film, Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon. And when I believe in all of his appearances as Rocket Raccoon, this is Bradley Cooper's best performance as Rocket. Rocket's backstory is so tragic and heartbreaking, James Gunn holds nothing back, showing how dark it was. Like, oh my god. And especially one scene, they can just hear a pin drop and just phenomenal voice acting from Bradley Cooper. Oh god, that is one of the most saddest MCU scenes by far. And just still thinking about it now, oh my god, what an absolute tearjerker. But most of all, Volume 3 succeeds at giving earned character arcs to the Guardians. Thinking about them, I was like, this seems like the appropriate ending for these characters, and I can see why it went that way. And what also makes Guardians 3 fantastic, this has the best villain of the trilogy, by far. Ronan was an okay villain, Ego was an improved villain. The High Evolutionary is a top-tier MCU villain. And certainly one of the most menacing MCU villains to date. And just how menacing he is at embodying pure evil. Oh my god, just a despicable human being this villain truly is. Just how inhumane he is, sadistic, psychotic, elegant, and intelligent, but also his important connection to Rocket. And you understand him with his goals and wanting to be a perfectionist. The visuals are fantastic and luckily look more improved than other Phase 4 films than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. The soundtrack is awesome. I've been listening to Dog Days Are Over after I've seen the movie. And my favorite action scene in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, and one of my favorite MCU action scenes in general, the hallway fight scene with No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Just the camera work making that look like one take and how flowing it is. That and the different abilities of the Guardians make for such an awesome and memorable action scene. I couldn't have thought for a more satisfactory finale to the Guardians of the Galaxy than this. Huge props to James Gunn and the cast and crew for crafting an emotional, exciting, and entertaining finale to these characters, and I'm going to miss them very much. I am a little concerned about the future for the MCU now that we're done with the Guardians, and I'm a bit 50-50 on the multiverse saga for now. I'm not too invested in it. It does seem a bit all over the place, but I'm not like too against it where it's losing me. I'm just in the middle for now. It's like, where are we going with this? This does seem all over the place. And as much as I'm excited for Loki season 2 in a few weeks, since I love the first season of Loki, I'm not really excited for the Marvels this November. I just think that movie looks bland and generic, and I wasn't a huge fan of Captain Marvel. I kind of thought that was just a mediocre MCU movie, but we'll see how the Marvels go this November. But nevertheless, I loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's in my top 10 favorite MCU movies. Coming in at number 4 is one of the best action movies of the year so far, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. While I don't think Dead Reckoning Part 1 is as good as Fallout, I do think that is very hard to top, since I think Fallout is an action masterpiece. And there were a few exposition scenes at the beginning of Dead Reckoning Part 1 that do drag a bit. But once it kicks in a high gear and gets going, this movie is an exhilarating thrill ride. And throughout the 2-hour and 40-minute runtime, I wasn't bored after that. And it just flew by. It was like, that was 2 hours and 40 minutes long? I didn't really feel that. That was awesome. Tom Cruise continues to excel as an action star, and this man is 60 years old and still doing his own stunts. Not only doing death-defying stunt work at 60 years old, but also giving so much to the character of Ethan Hunt at the same time. And I love the supporting cast as well, from Simon Pegg, Ving Rhames, Rebecca Ferguson. Haley Atwell was a terrific new addition here as Grace. And I love the back and forth banter between her and Ethan, and I can't wait to see more of her character in Dead Reckoning Part 2. And I'm glad after 4, I don't think this franchise has the best villains. We're still getting great villains. Henry Cavill was awesome in the 6th movie, and we got great villains in Dead Reckoning. Gabriel is a great villain, how unstoppable he is, with his important connection to Ethan Hunt's past, while also making for a challenging and intelligent villain at the same time. We got a secondary supporting villain played by Mantis from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, Palm Clementine, and she is amazing here, just a relentless and ruthless villain, just how deadly and agile she is, and definitely a different performance than what we've seen from her as Mantis. And Christopher McQuarrie continues to be a fantastic and reliable action filmmaker in his franchise, and still in good hands ever since Rogue Nation, as he continues to craft marvelous action set pieces and doing them practically, from a phenomenal car chase in Rome, a brutal alleyway fight balanced with a terrific sword fight, but most of all, the jaw-dropping motorcycle stunt off a cliff and the incredible train scene. It's worth the price of admission. What an incredible third act that was. And also that scene in the third act where each train is going down, where Ethan Hunt and Grace are dodging so many scenes and trying to get up. I was just like, ugh, that was so anxiety-inducing. Just go over there, dodge that, ugh. But Dead Reckoning also has a riveting and intense story. And also with its involvement of AI, it does feel relevant to today. I am disappointed that this did underperform at the box office. The main reason why I believe it did because it came out a week before Barbenheimer, and I really wish Dead Reckoning had more breathing time between that and Barbie, especially after Top Gun Maverick made a killing last year, made $1 billion worldwide. But nevertheless, this is one of my favorite Mission Impossible films in the franchise, as it continues to be a consistent and exhilarating action franchise. And I can't wait for Dead Reckoning Part 2 next year. Coming in at the number 3 spot is a recent A24 drama, Past Lives. I have been wanting to see this movie badly after all the buzz it premiered at Sundance Film Festival earlier this year and the Oscar consideration. I finally saw this movie in July at an Alamo Drafthouse Film Club screening, and I am so glad I did and found the time to go out and see this movie. Worth it. This movie was fantastic and absolutely moved me so much. Past Lives is a fantastic drama that's moving, gentle, tender, and a contemplative romance movie. It had me emotionally invested throughout to our two main characters, and it never once feels cheesy nor melodramatic. It does move at a slow pace, but I don't view that as a detriment to the film. I feel like it was the appropriate length for this movie, where nothing feels rushed, nor did I feel like this movie overstayed its welcome. Celine Song knocked it out of park with her directorial debut, from her assured directing and framing and beautiful cinematography. And another aspect that makes this movie excellent is a terrific trio of awards-worthy performances from Greta Lee, Teo Yoo, and John Magaro. Both Lee and Yoo have done a terrific job with their chemistry. It was so touching. But I was also impressed with John Magaro's supporting performance as Greta Lee's husband in the film. I felt like on the surface, or if this was a cliched romance movie, they would make him to be a one-dimensional douchebag villain boyfriend of this movie. But that's not really what they do with this character here. They did kind of poke fun at that, but they never really do that with his character. I thought he added so much warmth to this movie. He was funny and heartfelt, but also adds a lot of nuance to his performance. And I would love to see him get recognition in the Best Supporting Actor category. And mostly, the screenplay of this movie is fantastic and should absolutely win the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. And now hearing that Barbie is now campaigning an original screenplay rather than adapted, bit 50-50 on that. But I think they should win the Oscar for Original Screenplay, hands down. It is so well written, and it just feels realistic with the conversations that make this movie so compelling and powerful. How this movie focuses on love, destiny, friendship, and potential that make this film so profound and layered. And this movie even made me reflect on friendships I've had in my life with a female friend, and thinking, what if we got into a relationship? How long would it have lasted? Would we maybe get married, or would we have broken up? What would have happened? Just how this movie raises questions in the third act of this movie made this just so interesting and profound. And the ending to this movie, my God, did it broke me on so many ways. That was just such a powerful ending thinking about it. This is a stunning directorial debut from Celine Song that lived up to the hype. If you have not seen Past Lives yet, it is out on Blu-ray, so please go watch this movie. I implore you, just please go watch Past Lives. It's a must-see film and certainly one of A24's best films. We're so close to number one, and at number two, we have the other half of the Barbenheimer trend, Oppenheimer, from writer-director Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan is one of my top 5 favorite directors working today. Whenever he announces a new project, regardless of what it is, I'm immediately anticipating it. Oppenheimer was my most anticipated movie of the summer, and not only didn't disappoint me in the slightest, it is one of Nolan's very best films to date, up there with Inception and The Dark Knight. Oppenheimer succeeds at being both an engaging character study and a staggering technical achievement. This is Christopher Nolan's most dialogue-heavy film to date, but the dialogue is so rapid-fire and captivating, it had me invested throughout the entire 3-hour runtime. I love the non-linear story structure too, and upon thinking about it, if this was told chronologically by another filmmaker, I don't think it would receive the amount of hype this movie did, or if it was told that way, it would be kind of boring and dull, but luckily, this movie is not boring and dull at all. And it was also interesting for a unique biopic movie, unlike anything I've seen. The breathtaking cinematography with both color and black and white, showing Oppenheimer's subjective perspective in color and Lewis Strauss's objective perspective in black and white. The incredible musical score from Ludwig Göransson, and this is his best work date. I love him as a composer in Creed, Black Panther, and Mandalorian, Tenet 2. But with this score, all I could say is, give him his second Oscar for Best Original Score immediately, because it's incredible. Been listening to so many tracks that were just absolutely phenomenal after I've seen the movie. Balanced and flowing editing from different timelines from scene to scene. Terrific and authentic production design, and Nolan still relying on practical effects is still incredible. And just the atomic bomb sequence itself was amazing. And there was so much build-up to the Trinity test scene, hearing Christopher Nolan recreated that scene without any use of CGI. Just the urgency and build-up to it, and the musical score was anxiety-inducing. I was like, oh my God, it's gonna happen, oh my God. Even though I knew what was going to happen, still, the build-up to it was just phenomenal. But what makes Oppenheimer work are the performances, especially Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer is superb here in his career best performance. I've always loved Cillian Murphy as an actor. I do find him underrated. I loved him in Christopher Nolan movies as a supporting character, Scarecrow in Batman Begins, Inception, and Dunkirk, as well as other movies like Red Eye or A Quiet Place Part 2. But here in this movie, he dominated every moment he was on screen. Just how much he looks like Oppenheimer, the mannerisms, terror, intelligence, ego, and pride. We'll see how award season goes of who is the frontrunner, but not only do I hope Cillian Murphy gets his first Oscar nomination for Best Actor, I really hope he has a shot at winning Best Actor, because his work in Oppenheimer was incredible. But that's not to say the other performances were inferior. And talking about the supporting cast, the MVP, Robert Downey Jr., is incredible here. And this is his best not Iron Man role in such a long time. And thinking back to the last great Robert Downey Jr. performance that's not Iron Man, like, Tropic Thunder, maybe? My god, it's been so long. And it's great to see Robert Downey Jr. step away from Tony Stark and just still showing how terrific of an actor he is given the right role and director, and him relishing the role of Louis Strauss with his vendetta against Oppenheimer. And he did play more of a bigger part in the film than I was expecting from the trailer, which he was briefly in at the end of the trailer. Just how much he relished the role and played a very significant role in the film. He is definitely deserving of all the best supporting actor buzz he's been receiving, and he is so far my pick to win. And especially that scene in the third act with his rant and he just goes off, I just thought, yep, Robert Downey Jr. is coming for that Best Supporting Actor Oscar. Give it to him. And it's also got an excellent and well-utilized supporting cast here. And Emily Blunt going from a good performance at first, but when she gets more stuff to do in this movie, she gives a terrific supporting performance. And highlighting her best scene in the movie, that interrogation scene, she absolutely killed it there. And also from Florence Pugh, Josh Hartnett, Alden Ehrenreich, Josh Peck is even good here, Benny Safdie, and even Rami Malek. At first I was like, why did Christopher Nolan cast Rami Malek if he wasn't going to give him any lines? What's his purpose here? But then in the third act, in the trial scene, and what his purpose is, I was like, oh, I get it now. You killed it, Rami. And I also want to mention how great Gary Oldman was with his 1 minute of screen time, how ruthless Harry S. Truman was. Now this is Christopher Nolan's longest film to date at 3 hours long. And I can see why some people would have an issue with the runtime of this movie. Felt like it was a bit too long or it could have been trimmed. Honestly, I don't know what I could trim about the runtime in this movie. I felt like it was justified. Just everything this movie covers in an enticing and comprehensive way made this such an engaging watch, and how it bounces different timelines and keeps this movie engaging from start to finish. There was a point in this movie where I was like, I do feel the 3 hour runtime, but I'm not bored. Keep going. I am so happy this movie lived up to the hype and it's one of Nolan's best, and hearing that this movie has a lot of Oscar buzz. And now that Dune 2 has been pushed back to next year due to the SAG-AFTRA strike, which I am pissed about, I have a feeling Oppenheimer could win most of the technical categories. I believe it has a shot at those. And maybe this movie could win adapted screenplay. Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. could win leading actor and supporting actor. And I've been waiting for this for so long, and this could be it. Christopher Nolan seems to be the frontrunner to win the Oscar for Best Director for Oppenheimer. Please give him the Best Director Oscar, please. It would be truly deserving for Oppenheimer, just how much expert filmmaking put into this movie and the research and everything Nolan put into his craft. Please, Oscars, don't snub him again like The Dark Knight and Inception. He has been nominated for Best Director once for Dunkirk, and I hope he gets nominated again, and I really hope that Best Director Oscar is in Christopher Nolan's hands. And when I hear the words, and the Oscar goes to Christopher Nolan, I am gonna freaking cheer. And this does seem to be the frontrunner to win the Oscar for Best Picture, and with the amount of buzz, I think it would be very deserving. Even with the Barbenheimer phenomenon, I'm really happy with how this movie performed at the box office. Even with Barbie grossing $1 billion worldwide, this has been one of most Christopher Nolan successful films financially. And it has now grossed over $900 million worldwide. And that I find very impressive for a 3 hour, R-rated, mostly dialogue-heavy biopic film. And even topping Bohemian Rhapsody for the highest grossing biopic movie made me very happy. But overall, Oppenheimer is a stunning and masterful film from Nolan, an extremely well-crafted, engaging, suspenseful, insightful, and captivating film from start to finish. From the tremendous filmmaking, phenomenal cast, superb screenplay, this is a masterwork from Christopher Nolan, and I can't wait to pick it up on Blu-ray when it comes out. And finally, at the number 1 spot, my favorite movie of the summer is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I adored Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It was my favorite film of 2018 and one of the best animated movies I have ever seen. And I was enthusiastic when 2 sequels were greenlit. Despite how much I was highly anticipating Across the Spider-Verse, it was my most anticipated animated movie of 2023, I did keep my hype a bit reserved, knowing it could be not as good as the first movie or a disappointment. But luckily, when I saw Across the Spider-Verse twice in theaters, none of that happened. Across the Spider-Verse not only met my expectations, but surpasses it and surprised me on so many levels. This is not only one of the best animated sequels I have ever seen, up there with Toy Story 2, Kung Fu Panda 2, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and it's one of my favorite superhero sequels, up there with Spider-Man 2, The Dark Knight, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. It might also be one of the best sequels I have ever seen in my life. I absolutely loved Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse so much. And where to begin? The phenomenal, mesmerizing, and sensational animation here. This is not only one of the most beautiful looking animated movies I have ever seen, I would say up there with like Spirited Away or most of Hayao Miyazaki movies, but I'd say this is one of the most beautiful looking movies I've ever seen in my life. And this is further evident how much this animation is a game changer and how revolutionary it is. Just how colorful the details, whether big or small, just how artistic, gorgeous it is in every scene, the cinematography. Just truly phenomenal looking animation in this movie that made my jaw drop. Just made me wonder how they were able to do that. This is truly a huge accomplishment in the art form of animation. But what I love about both Spider-Verse movies, these movies are nowhere near style over substance. They were able to perfectly balance both the stylistic animation but also terrific and enticing character work at the same time. How this movie evenly balances both Miles and Gwen's stories, where I felt like both stories were able to give in time and flesh out, and not one story was trying to overshadow the other. They were both equally compelling. Now, Into the Spider-Verse was a fantastic origin story for Miles Morales. Across the Spider-Verse is a fantastic continuation of his story, and putting him in an interesting conflict made this film so compelling to watch. And Gwen Stacy's backstory at the beginning of this film was fantastic and giving her a great character arc at the end of the film. And I loved her more here than Into the Spider-Verse, making a more developed and fleshed out character and making her more three-dimensional. And I love the supporting characters as well. Issa Rae as Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman. Oscar Isaac does a terrific job at playing Miguel O'Hara, playing a very tragic and understandable villain. Spider-Man India and Daniel Kaluuya as Spider-Punk were both absolutely hilarious new additions. I love Chai Tea. What did you just say? Chai tea? Chai means tea, bro. You're saying TT. What, would I ask you for a coffee with room for a cream? I love him. And another villain, I love Jason Schwartzman as Spot. And just how he goes from a quirky villain, just a villain of the week, to menacing when he gets to the Collider. And from what I've heard from Jason Schwartzman, Spot is going to be darker and more meaner in Beyond the Spider-Verse. And with what this movie teased for the next movie, oh, I can't wait to see Spot return in Beyond the Spider-Verse. And one thing to mention, Daniel Pemberton's score in this movie, oh my god, is it amazing. Especially with Spot's creepy and haunting themes. Sounds like something out of a horror movie. And also the ending score at the cliffhanger with setting everything up. I love that as well. It just gives me goosebumps every time I hear it. The thrilling action, especially highlighting that exhilarating chase scene between Miles Morales and the Spider Society. And fun fact, that scene took 4 years to animate. Hats off to the animation team for crafting such an incredible action scene. And when we get to that cliffhanger ending, all I can say is with everything it teased and set up, Beyond the Spider-Verse, this is me. I need it! Now, this was going to be a back-to-back sequel with Beyond the Spider-Verse set to come out next year, but with the SAG-AFTRA strike, with Sony changing their release date schedules, and I heard Haley Steinfeld hasn't recorded her lines for Gwen Stacy yet, and Beyond the Spider-Verse has been delayed indefinitely, doesn't have a release date yet, and despite how much I love the first two, I do think they made the right decision. It is best to take their time with Beyond the Spider-Verse, and just hope they can find the right time depending on how the strikes will last, and just hope everything goes well and find the right release date, and just please take your time, do not rush Beyond the Spider-Verse, please. And overall, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is an incredible work of art. It's funnier, darker, more emotional, it's thrilling, it increases stakes and conflict, the voice cast are on top of their game, and the animation continues to be mesmerizing. This is not only my favorite animated film of the year so far, hands down, but also my favorite film of the year so far. And hopefully it can stay that way, and now that we're in the fall and winter season, Dune 2 has been moved to next year, so what could give Across the Spider-Verse a run for its money? We shall see. And not only like Into the Spider-Verse should win the Oscar for Best Animated Film, just give it that Oscar already, but I really hope with the rave reviews and hopefully can last long throughout award season, please nominate this film for Best Picture. I don't care if it's an animated movie or if an animated superhero movie. I find that to be a cop-out excuse. Just for how much craft that was put into this movie, and it was incredible. We have 3 animated movies that were nominated for Best Picture in the past: Beauty and the Beast, Up, and Toy Story 3. We haven't had an animated film that had been nominated for Best Picture Oscar since 2011, and I feel like this would be truly deserving of a Best Picture nomination. I am over the moon that Across the Spider-Verse, I think it's better than Into the Spider-Verse and lived up to the hype for me so many ways. I adored it. And all those reasons why Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is my favorite film of the summer. And that, everyone, is my list of my top 10 favorite movies of summer 2023. Even if there were a few things about the summer that were slightly disappointing, I still thought there were plenty of really good movies this summer that were worth watching. And again, I would like to hear from you guys. What were your favorite movies this summer? Either a top 10, top 5, or your number 1 pick? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm really excited to hear. And I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on my list. If you agreed, disagreed with my picks, let me know in the comments below too. Did you enjoy this top 10 list and want to see more videos like this in the future? If yes, please hit that like and subscribe button if you're new here. And don't forget that notification bell for my next upload in the future. It really means a lot. And until the next video, I'm Jack Benner and look forward to another movie review.